Ladies and gentlemen, DSP here. And the biggest gaming time of the year, when all the gaming news releases, is finally in full swing. E3 2021 is happening right now. Today is actually Sunday, June 13th, 2021. And big conferences are going down digitally. There is no physical E3 again for the second year in a row. I just finished watching the Microsoft and Bethesda co-press conference live as they broadcasted it on YouTube. And I have a lot to say. It was a 90-minute presentation, and this was the first time ever that there was a co-press conference between the two companies because Bethesda has now been purchased by Microsoft. So there were a lot of questions, right? I mean, we all had these big looming questions. Would every game presented be under Game Pass? So if you have Game Pass, you play every single new game on a Microsoft console, including cross-platform games. Would all the upcoming new Bethesda games now become Microsoft console exclusives? There was a lot to be answered. And admittedly, in the 90 minutes that these guys used, they used it pretty damned effectively. They covered a lot of ground. They talked about 30 different games. Now, certainly, they did not go into the massive detail about each game as they did. You know, there was an equal. Some of the games they totally talked about for an extended period of time, while other games they just kind of glossed over. But in general, it was one of the most news-packed conferences that we've seen in a very long time. There was little to no fluff at all. There was little to no BS. It was very matter-of-fact, new game, release date, and whether or not it was under Game Pass, stuff like that, which is very much appreciated, to be honest. I'd rather have a very informative conference than one that has a bunch of dancers dancing with music and people flipping over cars and neon lights and celebrities. No one cares about that. We just want information about games, okay? So, let us talk in detail about the Microsoft and Bethesda press conference of 2021, shall we? All right, let's do it. All right, so we start off with Todd Howard opening the show, which is interesting because obviously it's a Microsoft show, but Todd Howard being there at the very start kind of shows that Microsoft really does value Bethesda incredibly highly to let Todd Howard, one of the heads of Bethesda, open the show. So Todd Howard comes out and basically says, excited to be here at this conference with Microsoft this time. Let's just do it. Let's jump right into our new IP, Starfield. Okay? So everyone's excited because everyone knows that Starfield is the new IP that Bethesda's been working on for years and years now, right? I think we first heard about it like 3-4 years ago or something crazy like that. And we have had absolutely no information about what kind of game it is or what kind of gameplay the game would be. Well, after this conference, we know it's an RPG. And that's it. Because all they proceeded to do was play a cinematic-style trailer that basically showed an astronaut, which basically could be compared like maybe a futuristic astronaut. I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years in the future, something like that, some futuristic technology. And Jasper Kitty, that's it. I got to get him out of here because he's chewing on a wire already. Immediately you're misbehaving. So everyone say hello to Jasper Kitty. Say goodbye to Jasper Kitty because he's chewing on wires and I got to get rid of him. I'm sorry, Jasper, I tried. But I can't have you get electrocuted during my E3 conference recap. Alrighty then. That was short-lived. I really wanted him to come in to be in here, but he just doesn't behave. I don't know what to say. Alright. So, the Starfield trailer was just that. It was like watching a movie trailer. It shows an astronaut, talks about space exploration, shows some vehicles driving around on what could be the moon or maybe another planet. I don't know. Literally zero info about the game. Doesn't show any actual gameplay. Doesn't show if it has RPG elements, if it's a shooter. Nothing. Zero, zilch. Absolutely nothing. So in the minute to 2 minutes that this trailer played, no questions were answered at all besides, yes, they're making the game. Okay? So then, the trailer ended, and they announced this game would be releasing November 11th, 2022. Okay, a year and a half to go. Interesting. It is going to be a Game Pass launch title. So if you have Xbox or Microsoft Game Pass, you will be able to get it without spending any additional money. You'll just get it at launch day. And absolutely it is an Xbox console exclusive. It will not be coming to PS5. Now, they didn't clarify that. They didn't say if it was a timed exclusive. They just said it would be exclusive at launch, and that's all we know for now. Okay? Those were all questions people had, burning questions about this game, and they were all answered within the first few minutes of the Microsoft Bethesda press conference. Okay? However, apparently it will be on PC. From what they were saying, they said it would be like a cross-platform PC and Xbox Series S and X at launch. Okay? Now, they fade away. Now they have a woman on stage who works for Microsoft, and she's talking, and she goes, oh, well, now you have information about one of the most anticipated games ever and everything. I'm like, wait a minute, what? What are you talking about? One of the most anticipated games ever? No one knows anything about the game. Like, you just told us when it comes out, you told us how to get it, but you didn't even tell us what the game is yet. And I've been very critical of this recently, that these game developers just assuming that because they're a big game studio that the whole world wants to buy their game by default. Like, Starfield is a new IP from Bethesda. Great. Bethesda puts out a lot of games. Just think of the variety of games that Bethesda pumps out there right now. Big variety. Some of them are great, some of them not so great, especially the past few years with games like Fallout 76 and the like. Not everything that comes out of Bethesda is guaranteed to be good. So why on earth do they think that Starfield is one of the, if not the most anticipated game now? No, it's anticipated because it's Bethesda. People want to know more about it. That doesn't mean people are definitely buying it. Tell me what it is. Is it like Fallout? Is it a shooter? Is it a more heavily role-playing game? Like, what is it? No information, but you, oh, whoa, we're touting this as one of the most anticipated games ever. No. No. You don't get to make that distinction. You have to actually earn that distinction by giving us information about your game, which they did not do in this press conference. They really, in my opinion, like, I'm happy they kind of got it out of the way. And here's why. I feel they just did not want to spill the beans about this game, but they knew so many people have been asking for it for so long, they at least had to give some kind of information. Knowing that, they wanted to put it first, because everything else they actually did at this press conference had meat and substance to it. Most games showed gameplay and interesting information, while this was the only one that was kind of like, you get nothing. Okay? So the good news is, it's coming, and if you're a Microsoft fan who owns a Microsoft console right now, you're getting it under Game Pass, and it's an exclusive, at least for a limited period of time. The bad news is, we don't know anything about it, and they didn't bother to tell us anything about it at this conference. So, in reality, that's like my major criticism of this conference right now. Like, that was my one major huge thing that I thought they definitely could have done better at this conference. Just give us some information about Starfield besides the release date. Tell us what it is, and they completely failed to do that. Alrighty then. However, I will say this. Once they moved on from Starfield, the next, arguably 80 minutes, was jam-packed with very interesting info about a ridiculous amount of new games. And I'm going to run through all those for you right now because I was, quite frankly, I was entertained. I was blown away. The pacing of this conference was outstanding. There was no filler bullshit. No montages that no one cares about. No interviews that no one cares about. No, like I said, no dancing, no celebrities. It was just game, game, game. That's what people want from E3, and I think they finally got it. Okay? So let's talk. The first game they presented was Stalker II. They had a big cinematic trailer with a bunch of people sitting around a fire talking, and at first, I'll admit, didn't look very interesting at all to me. It just didn't. It looked like maybe this is like Metro or something, but then they started showing some unique elements, like there was like a warp field that was distorting like the visuals of the place, and they reached inside and pulled out some kind of an orb. I don't know what the hell that was, but that was interesting. Then they started showing mutated monsters they were fighting, and the graphics looked pretty damn good. So even though they really didn't explain too much about the game, it did pique my interest and made me interested in it. If anything, if it's kind of like Metro, I think it'll be a good game. It certainly doesn't look like the original Stalker. I played the original Stalker a year or two ago, and of course that game's incredibly old and outdated at this point. So them taking this long to make a sequel, you would think it's going to have modernized gameplay mechanics. I certainly hope so, because the original Stalker left a lot to be a lot to be desired. That's the word I'm looking for here. So Stalker 2 coming. Interesting. All right. Now, when is it coming? April 28th, 2022. So spring of next year, the game is supposedly coming out. Okay? Cool. The next game they showed was Back 4 Blood. Now, I admittedly have been completely out of the loop with Back 4 Blood. I have not actually been following the news about it. I did not play the beta. I guess they had an early beta. It might have been an alpha that they just did. And feedback from people apparently was that it wasn't very good, which kind of sucks because I'm a huge fan of the original Left 4 Dead games. If you're not aware, when I got my start on YouTube as a content creator, Left 4 Dead had just released. And that was one of the games that originally I had played as a big game to cover for YouTube. And I played that and the sequel the next year, loved both games, played the hell out of both of them. And then what happened? Turtle Rock Studios went on to do that really, really very subpar Evolve game. So now they're kind of getting back to their roots, what they were good at over a decade ago. And I'm happy about that. I hope the game turns out well. From everything I saw in this gameplay trailer that they showed, because it was a lot of gameplay they showed off different modes and everything. You got PvP, you got PvE, co-op modes, competitive modes. It's the return of the zombies mode, where you actually control the different classes of zombies against the humans. That was some of the most fun of the original Left 4 Dead games, is not only being the survivors, but then when you get to play one of the special zombies, remember the guy with the tongue, you would grab, you would start pulling the survivors towards him and everything. Dude, that was so much fun. And this is all coming back. They're bringing this back for Back 4 Blood. So it looks good to me. Of course, they showed some new enemy classes and things that I'd never seen. They definitely weren't present in the original Left 4 Dead. Looks really good, okay? I hope it's good, because I don't understand some people that, like I said, had played the beta or whatever and said that it wasn't very good. But I hope this game is good. Comes out October 12th, and yes, it's a Game Pass game at launch. It's included under Game Pass, okay? Then they showed what everyone thought was going to be an Indiana Jones game. It showed a bunch of, like, treasure, and it showed, like, people who I guess were, like, in some kind of I don't know if they were archaeologists, but basically it was kind of like a group of investigators. It doesn't show anything, though. It was just, like, static 3D rendering. There was no movement. There was no gameplay. And then it's called Contraband. I don't even know what it is. They said it's an exclusive, a console exclusive, but they don't really explain anything else about the game. They said it was a Game Pass console exclusive, but no date and no explanation of what the hell the game is. Alrighty then. Sea of Thieves got a giant segment where they introduced something pretty interesting. They introduced a Pirates of the Caribbean collaboration crossover event that's going to launch on June 22nd of this year. So within like a week and a half. Okay? Pretty interesting. Jack Sparrow's in it. Of course, it's not really Johnny Depp. It's someone else voicing him. They've got Davy Jones. They've got the Voodoo Priestess from the game, or from the movies, I mean, and different locations that are now integrated into Sea of Thieves from the movies. Kind of interesting it took them this long. What is it, like 3-4 years? And finally they're doing like a major collaboration that makes sense because it's pirates. See, to me, Sea of Thieves is dead. When I played it at launch, it was a joke. It was a laughable game. There was no content at all outside of 2 hours. After that, there was nothing else to do in the game. And it was like, are you kidding me? They actually sold this as something you would want. Like, oh, it's a console exclusive. And it was flopped horribly at launch. It was terrible. But everyone played it because that was the launch of Xbox Game Pass, and it was free under Game Pass at launch. So they used their marketing and said, oh, it's like the biggest selling Microsoft game ever. It's like, no, everyone played it for free. Because everyone signed up for Game Pass. No one bought your game. Everyone got it for free. However, over the last several years, supposedly Microsoft kept at it. They didn't ditch it or give up. Instead, they stuck with it. And now apparently the game has expanded, has tons of content. Although I've heard some really strong criticisms of the community who plays Sea of Thieves that it could be pretty toxic. I've actually heard that it's also a pretty fun game if you play it with a dedicated group. So it's interesting, years and years later, now they're finally having a ginormous actual collaboration with Disney to pull off this Pirates of the Caribbean expansion. To me, zero interest, but to some of you, maybe there is some interest. It actually looks decent, so. Okay. Yakuza 7. Big announcement that already leaked. This would have been a big announcement if it hadn't already leaked on the internet 2 days ago. Yakuza 7, as of right now, this moment right now, if you jump onto your Xbox console, you can download Yakuza 7 and expansion content for free under Game Pass if you have it. It's free. If you haven't played this game yet, I strongly recommend you do. It's the best RPG I've played in a couple of years. Very great gameplay, great graphics, amazing story. Yakuza is an amazing franchise. You're really going to like it. This is a great starting point because it's a whole new cast of characters from the previous games. Good stuff. If you haven't played it, play that shit. on Game Pass today. I don't get paid for these plugs, but damn, that sounded good. Okay, let's continue. Yes, Yakuza 7 like a Dragon. That's correct. That's the Game King Lunar. It's free on Game Pass right now. He actually doesn't believe. He's like, what? Yes, right now you could get it on Game Pass. Go get it. Do it now. Battlefield 2042. They showed off some new gameplay, which looked pretty damn good. They showed people ziplining across skyscrapers. They showed people using attack choppers. They showed people launching on rockets. It was all kinds of crazy shit. And to me, I'm excited for Battlefield 2042 because Battlefield number 1 hasn't had a game in a while. And the last game they put out was terrible. And the one they put out before that was terrible. The last Battlefield I liked was Battlefield 4. I thought Battlefield 4 was absolutely outstanding, but that was the launch of the consoles of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Think about how long ago that was. So Battlefield hasn't had a very good iteration in a long time. I hope this game ends up being good. No guarantees. Anyway, it's coming out. We already know it's coming out. What is it, October? I forgot to write down the date on here because we already had known the release date for the game. However, out of everything they showed, this is one of the very few games that is not included on Game Pass. So, out of all the 30 games they talked about in their conference, this is one of the 3 that's not included on Game Pass at launch. Shucks. Oh, it's October 22nd, said Timbo Slice. Thank you, Timbo. In fact, you know what? Let me grab a pen and write that down because I stupidly didn't write it. And I'm going to be taking the information from these press conferences to make a game release schedule for myself for the rest of the year, so I know what dates games are coming out, and that's important info, obviously. Thank you, Timbo, for that. Okay, then they showed off a game that we first saw like 2 or 3 years ago at E3, and it's very intriguing. It's a game that the entirety of the game takes place inside of one room. It's called Bathroom Wars, where you really have to think a big steamy dump. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually called 12 Minutes, and the reason this is interesting is because it's about a man and a woman who I guess are married, and I guess they have a fight, and these secrets are revealed or whatever during the fight. And then someone breaks into their apartment and murders one or both of them, but it's a time loop where you continuously play the same thing over and over, making different choices to try to pan it out and make them try to survive or get to the bottom of what's going on and who is this that's breaking in to kill them and stuff. And the character is James McAvoy, oh, God. I forgot her name. The actress who played the lead in the recent Star Wars films. Why on earth I can't remember her name right now? I have no idea. I'm having a big brain fart. She's the lead voice actress. And apparently the assassin is Willem Dafoe. Great, great actor. And I'm sure he's going to be a great voice actor. So those are the only 3 characters in the game. But if this game takes a long time to keep going through... Oh, Daisy Ridley. Thank you, guys. Daisy Ridley is the voice actress. So... if they really have these intricate things that you can do by doing different scenarios, touch this, talk about this, do it in a different order, time it differently, and these little intricate things change the whole Groundhog Day formula of redoing the same sequence over and over, this could be a really unique and interesting game. I've wanted to play it since the moment they announced it 2 or 3 years ago. It's finally coming out August 19th, 2021. Pretty cool. And by the way... yeah, it's on Game Pass. Shit. Shit. No, it's not the shit is not voice acted in the bathroom game. That's a different thing I made up. That's not true. Okay, someone just said, is Willem Dafoe the voice of the shit that comes out of your ass? No. I made that up. There's no shit game. Maybe there will be one day. There was a game called Try Not to Fart, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a game about taking a shit and you're stuck in a bathroom or something. It's a roguelike. The shit game will be a roguelike. You have to start the whole sequence over from scratch. Oh, I gotta reload the toilet paper. Oh, is there hand soap? Alright, now here I go. Unbuckle my... Alright. No, alright, let's stop this. Stop this. Let's move on. Enough of this. Okay. The next game they presented was Psychonauts 2. Alright, now. Here's my thoughts on this game. First of all, everyone knows my opinion on Tim Schafer, which has not changed in the last decade that I've made content for the internet. I still think the guy is a hack. I still think that the last game he made, Broken Age, is a complete and utter ripoff, and he really screwed a lot of people over with the crowdfunding and never delivered on the product that he promised, okay? That whole second half of that game is just rehashed, redone garbage. So, Psychonauts 2. For what I'm to understand, Tim Schafer is involved, but I guess he wasn't, maybe he wasn't directly involved. I don't know. So people were saying, oh, Tim Schafer didn't make this. I'm like, yeah, but it's his studio. Okay? It took forever for this game to be made. It's been years and years it's been in development. It's finally coming out. Yeah, finally it's coming out. It's coming out on August 25th, and it's under Game Pass. Okay? I think you're starting to see a pattern here with what I'm talking about on this press conference, and I'll talk about it definitely at the end. I'm going to summarize some of the big takeaways from this press conference, and Game Pass is certainly one of them. All right? Now, admittedly, the game didn't look that good when it comes to the visuals. It looks like a dated game. It looks like a game from like the first half of the PS4 era, even arguably the late PS3, Xbox 360 era. But if the gameplay is good and the writing is good, then it's probably going to be a great game. I just don't know, like, the original Psychonauts, when it came out many, many years ago, it was a game that was, like, unique for the time. I think since then, there's been a lot of games that have come out that has that quirky charm, like Psychonauts. So I don't necessarily know if Psychonauts 2 in 2021 is going to have the impact that the original Psychonauts had, you know, back in the 2000s. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm definitely interested in it. Seems like a unique game, but at the same time, is this a game that is going to not be as interesting as maybe it looked on paper? I don't know. Maybe because of the nostalgia factor of it, a lot of people will want it anyway. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, August 25th. So that's starting to populate the summertime now. Doom Eternal is getting an upgrade for modern consoles. Skyrim is going to celebrate its 10th anniversary in November, and they said there may be some mini events and things based off of that. Fallout 76 is getting a new expansion in July called Steel Rain, and also is going to get a pit expansion in 2022. The reason I'm glossing all that over is because, quite frankly, none of that really interests me. You know, if there was a new information about a new Skyrim or something, I would be excited. I don't care about anniversary events. I didn't like Doom Eternal that much, so I don't care about it looking better on PS5. And Fallout 76, when I played it, was absolutely god-awful terrible. I have no plans on ever going back to it. Hey, if you're part of that community and you want to celebrate, there's 2 new DLCs coming out for it. At least they're still supporting the game. It's not like they gave up on it. But at the same time, it's just not too exciting to me. Okay? Elder Scrolls Online as well is getting continued support. They explained there's going to be an ongoing event over the summer and yada, yada, yada. You guys know I don't care about Elder Scrolls Online either. Then, ladies and gentlemen, then it happened. Microsoft dropped on us the bomb of 2021. A game that I never expected, a game that came out of left field and completely blew away any expectations that I had for this show whatsoever. I mean, when I was watching this press conference on the internet, as this game started to show for the very first time, world premiere exclusive information, my shorts actually physically launched off of my pants and left me stark raving naked right here in this chair. I didn't do it. It was just, I was so excited that my pants, they ripped right off my body. It never happened to me before. It probably will never happen again. I couldn't believe what I saw. Ladies and gentlemen, Party Animals is coming out in 2022. It's a game with a bunch of anthropomorphic jiggly animals that seem to be made of gelatinous goo, doing various mini games, including combat, platforming, and other various things. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Fall Guys, except it doesn't seem to have that survival aspect. It's more about combat and other things, but it seems like there's other modes. What an amazing, revolutionary, groundbreaking game. I don't think we will ever see something like that ever again. When it comes out, the entire face of gaming is going to be changed. And maybe we won't be able to keep our pants on ever again. We may just have to have a pants-free society from now on, because I don't know how we're going to contain our excitement when this game finally comes out in 2022. Okay, moving on. Hades. A game that many people last year had said it was Game of the Year or a Game of the Year contender. A roguelike game that everyone told me was better than Returnal the entire time I was playing Returnal, is coming out on August 13th for consoles, including PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X. However, the big announcement here, it's under Game Pass. Yeah, if you have Game Pass, you get it for free. Okay, I think you guys are really starting to see the pattern here. All right, let's continue now. There was a game that it was interesting because it kind of looked like the gameplay of Limbo, and I hate to say this, but we've seen a lot of games in the last 5 years that look like Limbo. I don't know what it is. All these indie studios seem to want to kind of copy each other. You know, a smaller character on the screen doing platforming and puzzles with these environments that are interactive, and it looks like you have to figure stuff out to survive. Now, it doesn't look like Limbo because there's no silhouettes. These are actually shaded characters. And it's kind of a weird premise. I think it's supposed to be like the world ended or something because it looks like it's apocalyptic. But there was overgrowth, and there was like wild animals in places they shouldn't be. And I don't know exactly what it's going to be. It's actually called Summerville. And it will be Game Pass, and it's 2022. So if you like that style of game, you look into it. For me, it was like, nah, I don't know if this will be great or not. I don't know. Okay. All right. So then finally, everyone knew this was coming, especially after the insane embarrassment that Microsoft had last year during the summer when they did their Microsoft special broadcast event, and they previewed Halo Infinite for the very first time. All right. We knew there was going to be information about Halo Infinite at this event. So, pleased to say, yes, there was a lot of information we're about to cover it. But the real question here is, did Microsoft manage to avoid Halo's worst enemy, embarrassing internet memes? I guess we'll find out. Let's talk about what they revealed. So, first of all, they confirmed yet again the multiplayer of Halo Infinite will be free to play, okay? But before they got to the multiplayer, they showed a little bit about the story. And basically, they showed Master Chief, and he was floating through space, and he was using his grappling hook to pull himself through space debris, and there was a little bit of kind of traversal and stuff like that. And then it showed Master Chief talking to a new hologram, not Cortana. And he says, "Where's Cortana?" And the hologram says, "Don't you remember what the mission was? The mission was that I was supposed to guide you to Cortana, and it was your job to capture Cortana, the rogue AI, and take her back and actually delete her. Like, that was his job, was he was supposed to delete Cortana." Now, if you remember, the previous plot of Halo games, that Cortana, at the end of, I think, the last one, went rogue or something like that, and basically became, I guess, was supposed to become the villain, but then they kind of dropped that whole plot line, but maybe now they're picking it back up. I don't know. It's not clear. But anyway, this AI is basically acting like Master Chief has forgotten, like he has amnesia or something. And she says, "Well, if it wasn't you that picked up Cortana, then who was it? Because she's not here anymore." So I guess this is supposed to be like the lingering mystery. What happened between the last Halo and this one? Is Cortana still evil? Who actually has Cortana right now? And what's going on with this plot? Why does he have this amnesia? Seems to be pretty confusing. All right, I guess we'll find out more once the game comes out. Then they showed multiplayer. And they said, first of all, they said the goal is to try to get this game out around holiday 2021. And they showed some multiplayer. And I'll be very honest with everyone. All right? This looks to me like classic Halo multiplayer. Even the animations, I hate to say it, they were kind of like, you know, in Halo, the character kind of looks like a stick when he's running. He just barely has any motion. He's like running with the stick up his butt. And there's like these wireframe animations when they're turning and firing the guns. That's kind of what it looked like. Now, I'm not saying that's bad if you like classic Halo. I mean, I played the shit out of Halo 3 and I loved it. But it's kind of weird that we're like, 15 years later and it kind of looks like classic Halo to me. It doesn't look like they really advanced much when it comes to anything. And for some people, that may be okay. Maybe that's what you want. I mean, they did show the wire hook, so you will have the ability to have the wire hook and grapple around or whatever. But for the most part, I mean, I saw the sticky grenade. I saw some of the classic weapons being used and stuff like that. The shields, stuff like that. But it didn't look like they changed much. And also, like I said, it didn't look next-gen to me. It didn't look like, oh, this is really showing off the capabilities of the Xbox Series X. No, it was like, oh, this could have probably run on the Xbox 360. That's kind of how it looked to me. I mean, I'm just being honest here, and you guys can disagree with me if you want, but for a whole year to have this thing in development, after being completely embarrassed last year with how bad the game looked in that live demo they did on that presentation, and being memed into a fucking oblivion, a year later coming out and basically saying this is Halo, and it kind of looks the same as old Halo. I don't know. I mean, some people might love it. If you're a Halo purist and used to play Halo back in the day, this might be right up your alley. And the fact that it's going to be free to play multiplayer. Now, some people might argue, well, Halo always has had a a huge epic story component. And so people who are fans of the series are probably going to buy the game anyway because they want the story. I would argue wrong. People are just going to get Game Pass. Who's going to buy this game for $70? No one. Everyone is going to get Game Pass to get the story of this game, and the multiplayer is already free anyway, right? I mean, let's be honest here. Why on earth would you have an Xbox Series S or X and not have Game Pass? Like, can you think of one valid reason? I'm only halfway through the Microsoft Bethesda conference. Haven't even covered the other half of the games yet, and already you've seen the outstanding looking value of Game Pass. Every game here is coming out under Game Pass. So I don't think that the Halo multiplayer being free to play is any news. Everyone who owns an Xbox console will be having Game Pass and would have gotten it anyway. So it's kind of silly to say, oh, the multiplayer is free to play, when really, in reality, it's not a big deal at all. Okay? Anyway, that's basically what they showed. Now, interestingly enough, one big comparison that everyone is talking about on the internet right now, especially in social media like Twitter, Starfield had 0 gameplay shown, but has a release date of November 11, 2022. Okay? Halo Infinite, that is supposed to be coming out holiday 2021, right? Didn't have a solid release date. They wouldn't commit to a solid release date, even though they had all this gameplay to show. What a difference. It's almost like Bethesda's confident, and Microsoft is not. Like, Microsoft is not confident that their devs can get this game out for the holidays, so they don't want to promise that. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens, okay? But that's what they said about Infinite. Fair enough? All right. Continuing on. The next game they showed, Diablo II Resurrection. I'm excited for that because Diablo 2 is a good game. I actually played Diablo 2 when it was a new release, back on PC, back in the day. In the late 90s, I played it. I loved Diablo 2. The thing about Diablo 2 is, it's insanely addicting. Like, once you get into that point-and-click gameplay, you just want every piece of goddamn loot possible. And you get into this gameplay loop of going through dungeon over and over. Give me the gold drop. Give me the rare drop. And you get hooked on that shit. I liked Diablo 2 way better than Diablo 3. I really did. I thought Diablo 3 was kind of lackluster, but I thought Diablo 2 was outstanding back in the 90s. So this game is being re-released with modern graphics. The graphics look very, very good. I'm not going to lie. Although it's funny because the animations are the same. It's the same, like, animations. Oh, throw a fireball. But everything else looks amazing. It's like next-gen fucking models throwing, like, antiquated 1990s animations. Pretty funny. But anyway, September 23rd. That's the release date, so it's coming out in September for those interested. And this game will not be under Microsoft Game Pass. Why not? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Of all the games in this presentation, you would think that, like, maybe some of the bigger games would have not been under Game Pass, but this is the one that they chose to not be under Game Pass. I'm very confused. I don't know what the reasoning or methodology is there. But it was like one of the three. One of the Battlefield and Diablo 2 not under Game Pass. Okay? The next game that they announced, actually I was incredibly happy. I was genuinely happy that they announced this one. It's a game that came out a couple years ago. It was shocking that it was so good. At first, I wasn't going to play it. And then people convinced me to play it. I played it, and I absolutely freaking loved it. I thought it was innovative. The graphics were amazing. Like, it was a really good game. The game I'm talking about, of course, is Bugsnax. And no, I'm kidding. A Plague Tale. A Plague Tale. Yeah, the game about that whole rat infestation and the plague in Europe. Or was it France? And by the end of the game, the characters had the ability to control the rats and have them become rat monster armies and stuff, okay? And a lot of good puzzle mechanics, light and dark mechanics, a lot of unique stuff in that. So the game is getting a sequel. It's called A Plague Tale Requiem. It's coming out at an undisclosed date in 2022, and it is under Game Pass. Pretty sweet, huh? All right, also, Far Cry 6, they actually revealed some gameplay mechanics that I wasn't aware of There's going to be some really zany, unique stuff in this game. There's going to be a backpack that shoots rockets. There's going to be a pet rooster that you control during combat. It looks pretty interesting in that regard. Like, it looks like they took Far Cry and they added a bunch of zany stuff to make the gameplay more varied. Now, I don't know if the entire game will be like that, or if this will just be like limited things you can use only a few times during combat. That's not clear. The game looks good. It looks like Far Cry. I don't know exactly if it's going to be similar to the last games or not, but it looks pretty good. It's coming out October 17th, and the one... Actually, is it October 17th, or is this October 11th? Man, I wrote it so poorly. I think it's the 17th, but it might be the 7th, and I'm sorry, I'm an idiot that I wrote it so poorly there. Okay, now, this is the third and final game during this presentation, alright? It is not included in Xbox Game Pass. So, to recap, Battlefield 2042, Diablo 2 Resurrection, weird, and Far Cry 6. The only 3 games that look like they're not going to be under Game Pass in this entire presentation. Everything else, if you have Game Pass, you will get at launch for no additional fee. Pretty impressive, honestly. Moving on, Slime Rancher is getting a sequel called Slime Rancher 2. I don't know anything about the original, but it looks like a cutesy first-person game where you're shooting slimes of different types, and also you're trying to raise them, I guess, by doing various things. So I guess there's a sim aspect, but a combat aspect to it. Looked interesting. It's a very cutesy game. It's probably a game for more kids or people who are just looking for a chill, relaxing session instead of something too overtly serious. But it does look pretty good. It's coming out in 2022, but we don't have a release date. Okay? Okay. Another game is called Shredders. And what it is everyone thought this game was SSX. Everyone thought this is the return of SSX. It's not. It's a brand new snowboarding franchise. Interestingly enough. And it comes out in December 2021 on Game Pass. Looked good. The graphics actually looked quite good. I don't know how many people still care about snowboarding, but man, it looked pretty good. Atomic Heart. This is a game we've heard about for the past couple of years. Looks like it's going to be an RPG first-person shooter hybrid with cyborgs, but also other kinds of crazy things in it. But sadly, zero info. No release date, nothing. Just showed off a few things in a trailer, and that was about it. Okay? Replaced. This game, to me, you know what this kind of reminded me of? Almost like a Blade Runner-esque future, where there were a lot of cyborgs and a lot of neon, but it looks like it's an indie game where the character's kind of small. He's using guns in combat hand-to-hand to survive. I don't know if it's like Castlevania-esque or if it's going to be like puzzle or both. It's very hard to actually tell what it is. But that's coming out in 2022. That's all we know. For those who are interested in the game Grounded, a game that last year made waves and a lot of people were very interested in this co-op game Grounded. It's getting a big update. And they announced all these different new events and things that'll be in it. The most interesting thing to me that they announced, which actually was kind of neat. So there's a new creature in it called the Broodmother. It's supposed to be a giant spider boss, okay? So it shows the kids, Grounded, for those who don't know, it's basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. These kids got shrunken in a yard, and now they have to survive against bugs and all kinds of things that normally, if you were big, is no big deal. But when you're tiny, they're pretty deadly, all right? So this update adds this Broodmother character, but then they go, oh, but for those with arachnophobia, you can actually just do this. And there's a mode, it's called arachnophobia mode. There's a slider, as you pull the slider, the spider turns into a bunch of floating blobs instead. So if you don't want to be afraid of a spider, you could turn it into like a bunch of spheres floating in the air that you fight. And you could just guess that it's supposed to be a spider or something, but it doesn't look like a spider. It was pretty funny, actually. I was like, that's interesting. But anyway, it's good to see Grounded is getting some follow-up stuff. Among Us is coming to Xbox consoles, and it's going to be under Game Pass. I don't think they gave a solid release date, but it might already have one. But they did announce, yes, it's under Game Pass. There's another new game franchise that's about to happen. One of them is called Uden Chronicle, and the other is called Uden Rising. They're both JRPG-esque and anime-ish characters, but it's more pixel style. And the combat, in my opinion, when I was looking at this, I was like, this looks just like Suikoden, or Suikoden, however you pronounce it. That RPG franchise from the late 90s and early 2000s on PlayStation 1 and 2, it looks like that franchise. And I actually thought this was that game. I thought it was like a new sequel to the franchise, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's going to be its own, franchise. I don't know if it's like supposed to be an homage to those games or whatever, but man, it looked like those games. Absolutely it did. Now the weird thing about this, they show all this gameplay. I'm like, oh, this game must be ready to release. No, Uden Rising doesn't come out till sometime undisclosed in 2022, and Uden Chronicle doesn't come out till 2023. And I was like, geez, well, it's good to know it exists, but at the same time, like, that's kind of way far out there. You know what I mean? Okay. The Ascent. I have no idea what this game is. I swear, I watched the trailer. I just have no idea what this game is going to be. It comes out July 29th on Game Pass. I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell. I could look at the trailer yourself and try to make heads or tails of what it's supposed to be. I couldn't tell. It was a very ambiguous kind of trailer. Age of Empires 4. Who thought that they were making a new Age of Empires game? Right? Now, Age of Empires was from the late 90s. It was one of those real-time strategy games where you would basically have little plebeians doing farm work and grinding for minerals or whatever. Think StarCraft or Warcraft. But then they would build a big kingdom for you with barracks, and you could train different kinds of troops. And the thing is, you could play as different civilizations that had different troop classes and stuff. You know, it was pretty cool. You're playing Europeans or you're playing an Asian civilization, and everyone has different loadouts and different units. I played Age of Empires 1 and 2 in the late 90s, and I thought those games were absolutely outstanding. I loved them. But I haven't played one in quite some time. Yeah, they're making Age of Empires 4. It actually is coming out on October 28th. I know, we didn't even know this game was being made. It's coming out on October 28th, and it's under Game Pass. So, holy shit, if you're a PC gamer and you like that kind of game, or, you know, if you have an Xbox console, you got something new to do. I was like, huh? That blew me away, too. I was like, I had no clue. What an announcement out of nowhere. Pretty cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on for 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. There was a zombie hiding out in the corner. He was trying to hide behind, like, the air conditioner. I just couldn't have it. I had to behead him. Let's do 2 quick shout-outs, and then we'll continue. Shout out to Snow Carl, who tipped me $1.30. Says, since you're very open with calling E3 outdated format and praising Summer Game Fest, why did you choose to cover the former rather than the latter? Seems obvious E3 was 100 times better based on your reaction. Great recap, though. Because Summer Games Fest was not limited to just being one conference or event. Summer Games Fest basically started on Thursday with a mini conference that was like an hour long, and then continued all day and continued for like multiple days. There was no way I could cover Summer Games Fest unless I basically didn't stream games all weekend, which I didn't want to do. In this case with E3, they basically condensed it all into their old format of here's our conference, you see? So because of that, that's why I covered it in this way. But I agree that E3, sadly, is outdated. Not necessarily the way they do the conferences, but certainly the way that they handle themselves when it comes to the event, and the fact that basically the event is just a way for them to make money rather than really caring about anything else, as shown blatantly when they made it so only a very small exclusive group even got rights to rebroadcast E3, and everyone else just had to do it and hope they didn't get stricken down with DMCA claims and shit. I mean, it's absolutely a shit show, and shame on E3 for doing it this way in 2021 and thinking that they're still valid when they're really not. In reality, Microsoft Bethesda could have done a press conference without E3. Square Enix could do a press conference without E3. Everyone could do a press conference without E3, and we don't have to put up with their bullshit in the future. I certainly hope that's actually what happens. Okay? Carlton Jr. to me $1.30 and said, you must have missed Riders Republic, which also has snowboarding. Looks like Fall Guys, but extreme sports. Looks really good and better than Shredders. Check out the trailer. Riders Republic? That happened during this event? Maybe I did miss it, because I don't think I have any notes about that. Maybe I had a brain fart, or maybe I temporarily was paralyzed by something, and I was just frozen here like this for about a minute while the trailer played, and then I unfroze and didn't know none the wiser. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm serious. I have no idea what you're talking about. Riders Republic was in the show. I never heard of it. Anyway, continuing on. Eternal Napalm took me $5, and he says, the best games of E3 2021 are Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West, hands down. Thank you for your great coverage of E3. I enjoy it every year. Thank you for the support, Eternal Napalm. And then Harry Butthole tipped me $4.20. Says, anything new about Vampire the Masquerade? Glad you're still around, man. Well, let me just go through everything. I understand you guys are a little bit antsy about information about the games that you want to hear about, but let me just go through game by game. Let me go through everything that I saw and my opinions on it. Although apparently, Riders Republic, I completely was paralyzed and, you know, missed it out or something. I don't know. I don't even know what people are talking about. All right, let's continue. Okay. Where was I? I just did Age of Empires 4. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. Then, on the Microsoft and Bethesda press conference, came the most honest 2 to 3 minutes I've ever seen in any E3 event ever since the history of this inception. Basically, the makers of this game did an honest game trailer. You guys know what that is? You ever seen that on YouTube? They actually did their own honest game trailer. Alright? So the narrator goes, a mysterious vista about which you don't know anything about. And then it showed that. And then they say, all of a sudden interrupted by something jarring. And a big leg comes down. Boom. And then he goes, a deadly creature that scares you, but you'll never actually see again after this. Say goodbye. And it's a creature that goes, wah, bink, disappears. Then he goes, really action-inspiring gameplay to make you want to buy the game. And then it shows a bunch of characters in, like, suits running around with guns, shooting and stuff. And he says, by the way, this is not representative of what will actually be in the game. It was funny as hell. Like, basically what the narrator does, he goes through every trope that's used in every single video game ever to advertise the game. And he goes for like 2 minutes. He's going through all of them. It's hilarious. I urge you yourself, go watch this trailer. So at the very end of it, all right, he concludes and he says, and so you've watched 2 minutes of actual no gameplay at all. Reason being because the game developers probably don't have anything done in the game at all yet except for the name. And then all of a sudden it shows a moon, and the moon becomes the Moon Man mascot head from the Outer Worlds, and then they go, The Outer Worlds 2 coming soon. And that was it. It just ended. So essentially, the whole thing was a jab itself at the games industry and how the games industry tends to make game trailers that are way too early and aren't representative of anything that'll be in the final game, but it's just a teaser. You know, kind of like what they just did an hour before with Starfield. It was hilarious. I was like, oh my god, like this is the funniest shit ever, the way that they did it. And essentially they're making Outer Worlds 2, but have nothing to show us, so they just made this shit up and made you laugh your ass off. That was hilariously funny. I thought it was great, man. I thought it was absolutely well done. Again, I recommend, you want to laugh, go watch the Outer Worlds 2 reveal trailer on the internet right now. You're probably going to have a good laugh along with me. Okay? Carlton Jr. has tipped me $1.30, says, Uden Chronicles had a big Kickstarter campaign. It's the creators of Suikoden that are making it. I believe they don't have the rights to make a new Suikoden, so they're making their own thing. I'm pretty excited for it. And also, Riders Republic was during Ubisoft. Oh! So I didn't have a sudden fit of sleep paralysis during this event. It happened during the event I didn't do yesterday because I know Ubisoft sucks shit and their show would be terrible, which it was, which is why I didn't cover it. But that makes more sense. All right, thank you, Carlton Jr., for allowing me to know that I don't have anything wrong with me. That is actually refreshing and relieving to know. Thank you for that. All right, Carlton. Thank you. Okay. Oops. Continuing on. And as you can see, guys, we're 40 minutes into this thing, and I'm not even nearly done. This was a really meaty conference. The Microsoft Bethesda conference was incredibly good, in my opinion, and I'll tell you why in summary in just a moment. Let's continue on. Up next was Flight Simulator, which recently released for, what was it consoles? I think it's just PC, right? But what they're saying is on July 27th, Flight Simulator will hit Xbox Series S and X for free with Game Pass, and they're going to have a new expansion featuring the characters and the vehicles from the movie Top Gun. It's going to be called Maverick. I'll be honest, that game looks pretty interesting to me. And why? Because it's gorgeous graphics, and it seems to be something that you could just relax with. You just fly over major countries and look down at the beautiful landscapes and just relax and enjoy. Just unplug from the stress of the world. That's what we all need sometimes, and I think that game fills that need. I would be interested in playing it if I could get my hands on an Xbox Series X, being honest. All right, up next, this was a major chunk of the conference, all right? Forza Horizon 5, okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know, if you've watched my content over the years, I actually played Forza Horizon 3 and 4. 3 took place in Australia, 4 took place in the UK. Those games had gorgeous graphics, and I really enjoyed playing them on my Xbox One because it was just a really relaxing experience to drive around these gorgeous environments in full 60 frames per second, because they both ran at full 60 frames on the Xbox One, and just chill with you guys. Those games that I played wasn't necessarily always about making progress, and it wasn't always necessarily about caring about the cars I was driving. It was just having a good, relaxing time. And those games, to me, are very relaxing, driving around and seeing this beautiful countryside. So Forza Horizon 5 is going to take place in Mexico. And they actually show some really unique places in Mexico. This crater that actually has volcanic activity in it and stuff. Beautiful, lush jungles and stuff. And the game, at least from what they showed, all right, looked absolutely breathtaking. And I usually am not a graphics guy. And you guys know I am not a car guy. I could give two shits about cars and racing games. This game looked fucking sweet. The cars were photorealistic. The 60 frames per second, it looks amazing. Driving through these lush environments, these gorgeous landscapes. I feel like this is going to be the ultimate, because you're taking what I liked from Xbox One and putting it on Xbox Series S and X with full graphic fidelity. Oh my god, like, I'm actually very excited. This game, just so you guys know, comes out on November 9th. Okay? And, ladies and gentlemen, Game Pass. You're right. You're absolutely right. Forza Horizon 4 only ran at 30 frames on base Xbox One. It was the Xbox One X that it ran 60 frames. You're absolutely correct. Now, I'm gonna say a little bit more, because there's a little bit more to talk about on this conference, and then I'm gonna give you my final thoughts. And really, I'm gonna tell you something that I already said on Twitter, but it's kind of a revelation. I want to talk with you guys about it in this video and this stream. All right. So after showing off the absolutely gorgeous Forza Horizon 5, which I was blown away how good it looked, Phil Spencer comes out. All right. He opens his mouth and out come tons more lies, because everything the guy says is bullshit. We all know that he's just a PR head for Microsoft. All right. I don't want to hate on Phil Spencer too much, because this conference was actually really good. I mean, admittedly, 90 minutes, I wasn't bored the entire time. Everything was a new game information. Every game being under Game Pass except for only 3. But Phil Spencer, every time he talks, he's so full of shit. But anyway, he comes out and he basically says, thanks for watching, but we have one more announcement that we want to show you. It's a brand new IP from Arcane Studios. So immediately people were like, oh, is this Deathloop? No, this is new. So Arcane's been very busy. You know, they made the Dishonored games, and now they're working on all these different IPs. Deathloop's still coming out next year, but now this is the next game coming out from Arcane. Okay? So, it shows a bunch of people who seem to be survivors in an apocalypse. What a surprise. There's totally no games like that these days. Everything is just so modern day. I'm happy. Finally, a game ventured out and did something different and did something in an apocalyptic setting. All right? It's about damn time. But anyway, weird thing about this is it seems to be a multicultural group, right? You got an African-American girl, a Hispanic guy. You can tell they're all different races and creeds. They purposely seem to go out of their way to make a multicultural group, to be the group that's walking around in an open world environment. And it shows them fighting enemies, but then all of a sudden it shows, oh, here's what happened before. And what it is they're fighting these vampires. Now think about this. This is the graphical style of, say, Dishonored. It's a little cartoony, but the vampires are pretty cool. They seem to have special powers. Some of them are like, one of them's like a strong melee, and he's like picking the guy up by his neck like he's gonna choke him, but then they get impaled and they die. Then there's another one that has like these abilities shooting beams and shit. Like, whoa, what the hell is this? So the name of this franchise is called Redfall. And apparently it's supposed to be a different kind of post-apocalypse. It's not plant monsters. It's not zombies. It's vampires. And I guess the vampires are trying to take over the world, but there's survivors who are trying to band together to collaboratively fight and kill these vampires. The thing is, the entire trailer is just that, a movie trailer. There's no gameplay at all. So this very well could be a story-based narrative game. This could be a co-op shooter. this could be, you know, I don't know what it is. It's definitely an open world shooter, but you don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. Supposedly it's going to be coming out summer 2022, and yes, it's going to be under Xbox Game Pass, or excuse me, Microsoft Game Pass. So interesting that not only are we going to have Deathloop, but then we have another franchise right around the corner from Arcane Studios. And that's when the show ended. However, as the show ended, someone behind the scenes pressed an extra button. And all of a sudden, another trailer played for the Xbox Mini Fridge. And that was the end. That was the end of E3 forever. They actually announced after that announcement they could never top it. No studio would ever top the Xbox Mini Fridge, so E3 is now canceled forever. That was the last thing they ever broadcast. No. But it was kind of silly. It looks like the Xbox One X console, and you open it up and you can fit like 3 or 4 soda cans in there. I think it was a meme when the Xbox One S and X was shown, and they said, oh, the X kind of looks like a fridge, so they actually made a fridge now of it. It's kind of a silly thing, okay? Couple quick shout-outs, and then I'm going to basically tell you overall what I thought. So, Harry Butthole tipped me $4.20 and says, as I become older, I find myself less and less excited for E3. I used to watch it religiously, but nowadays, I'm maybe tuning into your coverage of it for a few minutes because life is funny that way. You know, admittedly, at one point, E3 was kind of must-see, and over the years, I just feel like it becomes less and less every year. Like I said, I didn't even watch Ubisoft this year. I didn't care. I couldn't bring myself to watch it because I know how bad it is, and everyone confirmed my suspicions that it was the worst press conference so far at E3. So, yeah. These days, hearing what happened at E3 through the voice of someone else and hearing an opinion as a filter may actually be more useful than just watching the raw crap. Because the raw crap takes too fucking long to watch, just being honest. Okay? Snow Carl tipped me $1.30 and said, when the vampires start taking over the world, I hope the Latinx Supergirls are there to save me. As long as there's a super diverse group of people to save me, that's all I care about. They must be, if a bunch of white guys show up, I don't care. I'm waiting for the next group to save my ass from the vampires. That's all I know. DXP did a $5 super chat. He said, just dropping in to say, hey, have a good one, DSP. Hope you kill it. Thank you very much, DXP, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Then BattleDuck9000 did another $10 tip. Says, not bad, Phil. No, don't make me use the water bottle. Stay away from flight sims. I don't think you know what a flight sim is. On PC, that involves a good hour or two of setup and HOTAS calibration. I can't imagine it just working on consoles. You're right. I don't know anything about flight sims at all. So I don't know about the complexity of a flight simulator at all. Yeah. No idea. Wait a minute. Why is that playing up there? I wanted that to be in the bottom right corner. I had it in the upper right corner. Oops. Alright, that's fine. So thank you, BattleDuck. Oh, I screwed up the leaderboard now. Now look what I did. Oh, shit. We're supposed to be at 45. Okay, there we go. I almost screwed everything up entire. Okay, we're at 45. Good. Timbo Slice tipped me $1.30, so they made 5 normal-sized fridges for celebrities at launch. I'm not even going to comment on that. I'm not going to comment on that because if I comment on that, I will get in trouble on the internet. As I always do when I'm opinionated about something. Harry Butthole tipped me $4.20 again and says, I didn't get my Vampire the Masquerade. At least there's something vampiric at E3 this year. Yeah, at least, you know, they did have this vampiric game. If you like vampires, you probably are interested in this new Redfall game. Okay? Alright. Gunner glasses, because we raised $50 in tips as usual on my streams. For wondering why I'm putting on glasses. When we raise $50 on any stream of mine, I put these on. Okay, good stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. It was Harry Butthole was the final tipper there. Let me give you overall what I thought about this conference, okay? Overall, I thought the conference was Harry Butthole. No, just kidding. Overall, I thought the conference was great. I loved it. I tuned in fully expecting to get bullshit, to get fluff, to get dicked around, to get jerked off, to get fed a bunch of nonsense. And outside of the non-reveal of Starfield, because even though they think they revealed it, they revealed nothing because they didn't show any gameplay to tell you what the game is. Outside of that, I liked everything about this conference. Now, admittedly, some people are still pissed off because there was no Elder Scrolls 6. I hear ya. I still feel we got years to wait because remember, they said Starfield was in development before Elder Scrolls 6. We got to get past Starfield before we can even care about Elder Scrolls 6. And the thing is, we don't even have info on Starfield yet. We know when it's supposed to come out, but we don't even know what the hell it is yet. So until we get Starfield out of the way, like I feel next year, since Starfield will finally be coming out, then we'll get info on Elder Scrolls 6. So I didn't go into this with expectations trying to get Starfield, trying to get Elder Scrolls info, and because of that, I don't think that I was disappointed. I wasn't expecting to get it, all right? Now, outside of that, I thought it was great. I was blown away. This is one of the best press conferences I've seen in a million years. And I mean that. Like, Sony blew it out of the park several years ago at the launch of their new console generation. Bethesda, when they had their first yearly annual press conference at E3, and they announced Fallout 4 is coming out later that year, they knocked it out of the park. If anything, this conference, Microsoft Bethesda Conference 2021, finally is going to quiet a certain group of people who, since the launch of the Xbox Series S and X last year, have said, Microsoft has no games. You can't say that anymore. They were 30 games, 27 of which are going to be Microsoft Game Pass. If you buy Game Pass and you have an Xbox Series X or X, you are going to get outstanding, insane value in the next year. You're going to be playing third-party games, first-party games. You're going to be playing everything at launch without additional cost, with a few exceptions. If you have Xbox Series X, you're going to be playing some of these games at 60 to 120 frames per second. Okay? Like, this is outstanding. Like, this really showed that they've been listening to what gamers want. Gamers are upset that they bought a console last year that has no actual games for it that you can't get on the competitor's console. Now you're going to have that. There's a lot of exclusives on this lineup, and they're all under Game Pass. I'll be honest. I was looking at this list, all right? And just a few examples here. A few examples. Back 4 Blood in October. 12 Minutes in August. Okay? Going through this list. Psychonauts 2 in August. Obviously, Halo Infinite coming out later this year. Maybe Shredders, that snowboarding game. That might be interesting. I might check that out. It's under Game Pass. Age of Empires 4. I would play Age of Empires 4. I liked the first 2 games. That one's under Game Pass. That one's coming out in October, right? Or is it September? October, end of October. Flight Simulator coming in July. Forza Horizon 5 in November. You see, that's what, 5, 6 different games right there. That is an outstanding value in the next few months if you have a Game Pass, you know? And I've said over the last 6 months or so, since the launch of both the Xbox Series S and X and the PlayStation 5, there was definitively a reason to own a PS5 if you wanted to play the Demon's Souls remake, okay? If you wanted to play Returnal, if you just wanted to play Ratchet and Clank that just came out, if you wanted to play Godfall, don't know who would want to do that, but if you wanted to play Godfall, or if you wanted to play a next-gen version of current-gen games, a PS5 was the most viable option. You had those exclusives, plus you had the better versions of current-gen games, all right? If you had an Xbox Series S and X, you just played the same games, but you didn't get any exclusives at all besides the Medium, which, by the way, is no longer an exclusive. It's going to be coming out for PlayStation very shortly. Okay? So the argument was, Xbox has no games. You can't say that anymore. In the next few months, under all these games that are going to be coming out under Game Pass, you're going to have exceptional value if you own an Xbox Series S or X, or PC for that matter, and you use Game Pass. You're going to get a ton of games for, what is it, $20 a month? And actually, it was very interesting because someone, during that stream, someone in my stream chat said something to me that struck a chord with me. They said, so let me get this straight. Last month, you had to drop $70 to play Returnal on a PS5. A game that arguably only has 6 to 7 hours of content, but because it's a roguelike, forces you to replay it and ends up being 20, 30 hours long. $70 for that, or for like $80, you can get a year of Game Pass and you can play over the next 6 months, what, 10 games or more? And then more and more coming out next year, right? Like, yeah, this is it. This now is the time that you're going to finally see value. We've been waiting 6 months. There's really been no value to having an Xbox console at this point. The console wars very firmly have leaned towards the side of Sony. But now, with this conference, let this be the day. June 13th, 2021 was the day that Microsoft took the flag and they stuck it and said, we're here to be serious about games now. Yes, you had a little bit of a really slow start, but if you get Game Pass, this is now the place to be. Come to our consoles. You're going to get exclusives. You're going to get great other games. Like, this is the place to be. Now, I'm not saying that if you have a PlayStation 5, you're not going to get great exclusives. We got some really outstanding exclusives coming up. God of War, Horizon, Kena Bridge of Spirits, just to name a few off the top of my head that I'm thinking of that are going to be really good PlayStation exclusives. If you don't have a PS5, you're going to be missing out. But value-wise, $70 a pop. Well, I don't know if Kena will be $70, but you see what I'm saying? $70 a pop versus $20 a month. I mean, the value is there, man. You know, the value is absolutely there. And I think now it's going to be a war of money and value rather than a war of games. The Sony fans will be like, well, we pay more, but we get better exclusives. The Xbox fans will be, well, we get all these games that you're playing and paying tons of money for on PS5, we get anyway. Plus, every once in a while, we get a cool exclusive for the cheaper. So, I could definitely see the different arguments, and I can see the different schools of thought. So, I want to make an announcement, all right? Right now, I'm making a public announcement. I already kind of said it on Twitter, but I'm going to make a big public announcement right now. As of right now, I finally see the value in it, and I want to get an Xbox Series X. Now, likely I can't. Likely, this console will be unavailable in the United States for quite some time unless I buy it from a scalper, which I absolutely, positively refuse to do. I will not pay a scalper for a console. I do not support that practice at all. I would never support something like that because all it's going to do if you support that is going to make it worse. Okay? So I absolutely am not going to buy it from a scalper. I have to find a way to try to get an Xbox Series X legitimately, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I know basically there's places you can follow, like on Twitter and different things where people, when they drop in the middle of the night at fucking 4 a.m. at Walmart, they drop online, you can sometimes jump in and get an order in or whatever, right? But finally now I see the value in it, because like I said, starting, I think one of them was July, right? Yeah, starting in July, there's actually games on there under Game Pass that I want. And there's a couple in August. There's definitely a couple in September, October. I mean, Forza Horizon, I need to play on an Xbox console. So, yeah, like, I definitely want an Xbox Series X. And by the way, some people are saying, get the Series S. Fuck no. I'm not. You'd be out of your mind. Do you really think that these games are going to run as good? Of course not. Now, yes, I'm only playing at 1080p, but I always want full 60 frames, and I want the best graphical fidelity. I want the one that's going to run these games the best. I need a Series X. I'm not going to pay a few $100 cheaper to get a console that's going to underperform. You know, within a year or two, the Series S is not going to be up to snuff for new games. It's just not going to be. It's going to run games poorly because it's the discount console. Right now it doesn't, because everything really is aimed still for 1080p 60 frames as the sweet point. If a game can push 4K and do 30 frames, you're lucky. But in a few years' time, everyone's going to be aiming for the best graphical fidelity, and the Series S is going to run like shit, man. I'm not going to waste money on that thing and end up being disappointed. I want something that's going to have value over time. That's why I want the Series X, okay? So, I absolutely, positively want it. I don't know how I'm going to get my hands on one, all right? It's not even a matter of money, because you could argue, oh, Phil can't afford it. I could probably piece together the money for it within a month or two. But how am I going to get it is the question. Like, it seems like still these fucking scalpers screwed everything over, and every time there's a drop, they're buying them. So the common person cannot even buy one these days. All right? So Microsoft, send me a free console immediately. No, I'm just kidding. Microsoft would never send me shit. No one ever would send me anything, nor would I ask for that. I want to get the console just like you guys. I want to be going through the same kind of painstaking process you guys have to go through to get it. I want to go through as well. All right? But I don't know. If anyone has information or advice on maybe how to do that, let me know. All right? But also, I'm not stupid. I'm not buying it from no scalper. I'm not buying it from some guy who claims, oh, you know, I just had 7 of them lying around. I'll sell you one. And he sends me a fucking box of rocks. I'm not stupid. So we got to figure this out. I would love to get one in like July or August and be able to play games like Psychonauts 2 or what was the other one? There's 2 of them coming out in August that are Game Pass. I would love to start doing these Game Pass games. And then, by the way, then I could also review the value of Game Pass and let you guys know month to month what I feel the value of Game Pass is. Of course, Microsoft dissed me on Twitter. That's why they owe me one. Microsoft's Twitter account knows who I am. It's actually Xbox Twitter account. They know who I am. So Xbox Twitter account, you better look out. I'm coming for you because I want an Xbox Series X, and I need to find one. So you better get on that. I'm sure they really care. Anyway. This was an outstanding press conference. This conference, if I had to grade it, compared to all the other conferences at E3 for the past several years, this was the best one. Like, seriously, like, probably the best one in 3-4 years. It was just constant new games, Game Pass, you know, everything was good. Like, the only thing was that there was no actual gameplay of Starfield, and there was no Elder Scrolls 6. But outside of that, this was just nonstop cool stuff. And I think finally they get it. They get it. They finally figured it out. This is what gamers want. No more fluff, no more horse shit. Just fucking give them what they want. And give them value with this Game Pass. And that's what you're getting with Game Pass. So, let's see here. Anshang Forever tipped me $1.30. Said, I agree too. The Xbox conference is good. Good to see you, Anshang. Thank you for the support. BattleDuck 9000 did a $4.20 tip and says, give me a store listing for the Outer Worlds 2 and I'll buy it now. The trailer has me completely sold. Forget everything else. Even Battlefield 2042 looks mad. I'll wait for Battlefield 2143. Timbo Slice tipped me $1.30. He says, with how good this conference was, it's going to make it even harder to find one as more people will want it now. Exactly. This conference was so good. People who were on the fence about getting an Xbox console are now going to want one. And it's going to become even more scarce. Shit. Snow Carl tipped me $1.30. He said, the trolls will pounce on what you said about not needing money. Please clarify. What I'm saying is basically, now that I'm going to be back on YouTube full-time streaming, I've already explained this. I'm going to start getting paid by YouTube in a couple of weeks for your contributions, whether it's memberships, super chats. Within a month or two, I should be back to normal. Things will be back. No more chaos. Oh my God, I have no money. Therefore, I may be able to scrounge the money together to actually buy the console. It's that simple. Pretty commonplace. You know, for people with a brain, it's easy to figure out. But the problem is the trolls don't have brains. So, Guitar Player 1939, thank you so much for becoming a member here. That is going to jump us up, I believe, to 180 members. See, the thing is, I don't know when people renew their membership on YouTube what it looks like. So I don't know what it's going to say. It's going to say, oh, you know, you were renewed or whatever. But thank you. I don't know. I think this is just a standard membership. It is not a renewal. So thank you, Guitar Player. Appreciate that. Carlton Jr. took me $1.30. He said, as a PS5 owner, this conference swayed me to get an Xbox Series S in August or later. The XSX is going to run a lot of these third-party games better than PS5, and the Game Pass value is crazy. There's no way I'm dropping $1,000 on a PC GFX card versus a $500 Xbox Series X. All right, so that is a 1, 5, 6, 7, 8 more dollars in tips. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Microsoft and Bethesda for 2021. They really did a great job. I was very impressed. I thought it was well done. The fact that they had both Todd Howard and Phil Spencer on the show was nice. Outside for Starfield kind of flopping because they didn't say anything about what the hell the game is. Outside of that, the whole conference was amazing. I had a great time with it. I hope that you guys enjoyed, not only if you watched it yourself, but my recap and reactions of it, all right? It's good stuff. I'm sold. I want an Xbox Series X. I'm sure there'll be 10 of them outside my door tomorrow. Get on that Xbox Twitter account. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching my Microsoft and Bethesda E3 2021 recap and reactions. See you later.